Hey guitarists, welcome back. And today we're talking about the A major chord. So if you take a look here, we're only using three fingers. We're using fingers 1, 2, and 3. And if you check it out on here, they're actually all in a straight line. They go right across as you're playing. And we actually don't play all of the strings. I'm going to put an X here on the low E string, and then an open here above the A and open here on the E. Now technically if you played this E string here, it wouldn't sound bad, but we want the A string, the sound of the A, to be the lowest sound we hear because it's the root of this chord. Okay, it's the most important note of the chord, the A. So a way to remember it is if you remember your names of your strings: Eagles, Beatles, Grateful, Dead, and Elvis. With the A major chord, we want to strum from the A string down. Okay, so let's take a look at what that's going to look like on your guitar. Now, when you put your fingers on your guitar, they're not necessarily going to line up perfectly in a straight line. This just looks nice and pretty when you're looking at it on a chord chart, but chances are your fingers are actually going to kind of be angled a little bit, okay? So let's take a look at this. I start with pointer finger, finger 1, and I'm going to put it here, okay? 3 strings down from the top, the D string, and then my other 3 fingers follow along, okay? So when I put them here, you can see that they actually end up being a little bit more of a diagonal. Depending on the size of your fingers, on how long your fingers are, how thick your fingers are, this is going to affect how you set up your chord a little bit, okay? So although it's written, again, as a straight line on the chord chart, it's not necessarily going to look like that, okay? So remember, we strum from the A string down, okay, and that's our A major chord. Okay, so I like to start, like I said, with my pointer finger and just do 1, 2, 3. Now, let's talk about the difference between this A major chord and what we worked on last week, the A minor chord, okay? So let me fix where my guitar is so I don't drop it, put it back on the stand. So our A minor chord, okay, a minor chord does sound different. We share a couple of the same fret positions as the A minor chord. We have a finger here and here, but remember we also had one up here. We also play the same strings as the A minor chord for the major chord, so we don't play this one. Play here and here. Okay, so you play a total of 5 strings. So they have in common 2 fret positions and the same strings. Okay. Now, you're never really going to be playing an A minor to an A major. This is just your reference point so you know the difference. Your fingers are going to be set up slightly different for this, right? So your pointer finger's back here, 2 and 3. So we worked on that last week and you already know that. But this is our A major chord, and this is going to help us start moving into our blues. So I'm going to quick erase this, and we're going to talk about how this fits into some of the stuff we learned about the blues last week. So let's talk about how we're going to apply this A chord a little bit. You can find it in pop songs, classical songs, things like that. But we're going to apply it within a 12-bar blues pattern. So we talked last week about how a blues pattern, this is a form, this is a layout, a basic form for a lot of blues songs. It's not always an A, but we're going to be doing that as our example so that we can put our soloing over top of this backtrack idea. So 3 chords. The 3 different chords we're going to be using in the key of A. We're going to be using A, which we're learning today, D, and E, which we're going to be working on next week. So now let's break up this music. I have our 2 repeat signs. Let's break it up into 12 bars. Remember, another word for bars is measures. So I'm going to make 3 lines worth of 4 measures. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do the same here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then again, 1, 2. I'm going to move that over just a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, these are bar lines that I'm putting in to space out my measures, and now we need 4 beats in between. Remember our slashes that we use to just kind of show 4 beats worth. So I'm going to draw those in. 1, 2, 3, 4. But now I need to know what chords go in the pattern, okay? So I'm going to work with those Roman numerals to start that we talked about last week, and show you the relation between them and these chords, specific chords that we are going to be using, okay? So the first whole line, the first 4 measures are all 1, okay? Roman numeral 1. 1, 1, 1. I'm going to erase this a little bit just to make it a little less crowded in here. Okay. And then we switch. There goes my light. Let's turn that back on. Okay. Now we're going to add on the second line. We need 4. 2 more of 1. And then 5. 4. 1, and here you could technically do 1 or 5. We're going to do 5 because we haven't done many 5 here, okay? So in the key of A, 1 is going to equal the A chord, 4 is going to equal the D chord, and 5 is going to equal the E chord, okay? So I'm going to fill that in. I'm going to play the A chord here, 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 D, A, E, D, A, E, okay? So once we learn this, we can just play the blues, okay? It'll sound really nice. This goes really easily together. It's only 3 chords. So let me show you what that's going to sound like a little bit and what we're going to be working on playing as we learn these chords and practice these transitions. I just want to let you know what we're building up to, okay? So it doesn't just look like we're learning 1 chord at a time. Okay, so we start on the A chord, right? And now I'm going to play 4 measures of that. Ready? So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 2. Then I go to the D chord. Now A. I'm at the end of the second line. Now I go to E, to D, back to A, and then I end on E. Okay, so that's our blues in A, and we're going to build up to this and solo on it. So we're going to take it little bits and pieces at a time, okay? So just remember, we're using 3 chords. In the key of A, we're using A, D, and E. Okay, we already know the D chord, so once we work on the A chord together, I mean, we're 2/3 of the way there. So remember to add your response in Seesaw and answer the questions about this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your